Okay, so hi guys, welcome to a mini episode of Unscripted Perspectives. I know, since the show or podcast hasn't been active in so long, it kind of seems unfair to drop a mini episode, a short, not so, a not long episode or not a full episode. But for the moment, okay, so myself and Victory, we we sort of like separated to do or to chase certain things on our own. And I haven't, not that I haven't found like a host for it, a co-host with it. I have, but I've been procrastinating. So, and I haven't been able to drop. So I haven't like been able to arrange to do something with them. So I don't think if you want to hear me talk for 30 minutes, I don't want to hear myself talk for 30 minutes as well. I don't talk for 30 minutes alone. I'm alone here, so it kind of sounds like I'm insane. I don't want to feel like I'm insane. So yeah, welcome to a mini episode of Unscripted Perspective. I'm the host, Apo Socrates the Bonsu. The name did not change. Yeah, right. Still that guy. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about like a few things. Something very. I'm not going to say personal. It's not personal. It's not very personal to me. Well, maybe it is some, but it's an opinion. These are opinions that I have, like that are very personal to me. The opinions are very personal to me, I guess. So yeah, and I'm going to start with this. God doesn't care if you're rich or you're poor. God doesn't care if you die rich. God doesn't care if you die poor or you die rich. God doesn't care about all that. Now, this does not mean that God does not want you to be rich, right? Because God does want everything good for you. But it doesn't matter to God if you die, if you are rich or poor. God doesn't love you any more or any less because of your financial or economic status or your economic position in life, right? God doesn't love you any more or less because of that. And the reason I feel the need to like make this video is because a few days ago, I heard somebody, a friend of mine, said that a true Christian is never poor. And while I understand the sentiment behind that, right, because God does want everything, God wants us to have everything good in life, and wealth is one of the good things in life. It shifts the blame from it shifts the blame of poverty from systemic failures to me, and then it now makes it a moral failure, right? What I mean is, people who are poor, look, take Nigeria for example. People who are poor in Nigeria, most people who are poor in Nigeria, right, are not poor because they don't work hard, or are not poor because they are not morally upright or they are not good people, right? Nigerians are poor because we have a very corrupt government and oppressive, and we have systems that are keeping us in poverty. That's the reason Nigerians are poor, right? That's the reason most Nigerians are poor. Maybe there are a few people, but like on average, people are poor because of systemic failure. And poverty is mostly a systemic failure than it is an individual failure, right? And this, me saying that God doesn't love us any more or any less because of our economic situation, it kind of like brings me to the second thing I want to talk about. It is very different from multiple places, but it is okay. So throughout the course of my life, I tried to not throughout the course of my life in the last like 6 years or so, I have tried to deconstruct the Bible, or like religion rather, or Christianity as we know it, right? And try to like look at things from certain perspectives, right? And to look at things from certain perspectives, right? In a bid to formulate a belief, not belief, right, but like to personalize my belief in God, right? I've believed in God for a very long time. I've been Christian for a very long time, but for the most part, I was Christian. I used to think I was Christian for the wrong reasons. I was Christian because I grew up in a Christian home, which is kind of fine, but it doesn't like it won't strengthen being Christian because you grew up in a Christian home wouldn't strengthen your relationship with God. So I had to deconstruct and reconstruct my own, right? That's why I have very different opinions from my family members, right, about like Christianity and everything else for the most part, and a lot of things. So back to this back to what I wanted to talk about, right? Something that I sort of like an opinion that I have about some a story in the Bible, and it's the story of Samson. And I would like not just Samson as a person, but like why I think Samson died the way he did, right? Because it seems like Samson died a very tragic death, right? It was kind of like very anticlimactic, if you ask me, because somebody who did so many exploits, he just you know, and I feel like and why he asked God for strength one last time, and I think the reason for that is this: as Christians, a lot of times we, because of the kind of like country we live in and how much like we preach, how Christianity is being preached to us, they don't preach to us the love of God for the most part. They focus on a lot of other things, right? And I don't think we talk about the love of God, how much God loves us, enough. What I mean is this: as Christians, sometimes we don't feel God's love, right? Because sometimes we're going through trials, tribulations, whatever. We are going through very, very hard times, right? But and we don't feel God's love. Sometimes we don't even love ourselves because we feel unworthy of God's love. But the point of like Christianity, right, and like our salvation is that we we don't get to be worthy of God's love. We are just loved by God because we are God's creations, right? And because we are just loved by God because of God's creations, we don't have to earn His love per se, right? I mean, we still have to be good people, but we don't have to earn God's love. We don't have to earn God's benevolence towards us for the most part, right? God just loves us, and because He loves us, He's good to us, right? And because He's good to us. And I'm of the opinion, right? I heard a preaching. This opinion sort of like happened because I heard something yesterday about Samson, or sometime last week. I'm not exactly sure, but I heard something about Samson and how he died, right? Like an ex-champion. I think it was yesterday. I'm not sure. I think it was yesterday actually. But I feel like Samson at that point in time couldn't feel God's love anymore, right? He couldn't feel God's love anymore. He felt unworthy of God's love. He felt because he had one. There was just one simple, like, uh, he had just one. Had one job. He had just one job. Don't cut your hair. And he told Delilah about his hair, and so he cut his hair, and so they taunted him. He felt ashamed. He felt weak. I'm sure that's probably the weakest he has ever been in his life. He felt weak, and because he felt weak, he felt unworthy. He felt like he had disappointed God. He felt like he had failed God, right? And yes, he did fail God to an extent, but as Christians, we have to realize that even when we fail God, even when we disappoint God, God still loves us. Even at times when we don't love ourselves, God still loves us. When I've always had the opinion when I was young, I used to ask myself why did he not just ask for his hair to grow? That's why I used to ask my parents when I was younger. I used to ask my mom when I was younger, why didn't something just ask God to make his hair longer miraculously? Because why not just do that? But I realize now that in a situation like that, I probably wouldn't. We don't feel loved certain times. We don't feel, because we don't love ourselves, we don't feel like we are worthy of God's love. I've said this over and over again. But because we don't feel like we are worthy of God's love, we cannot begin to ask God to love us, or we cannot begin to ask God for forgiveness. And that's what that is. That's what that was. If I believe that if Samson had asked God to forgive him and give him his strength again, he could have survived that. But he didn't survive that because he did not want to survive that. And the reason he did not want to survive that was because he felt unworthy of God's love. He felt like he had disappointed God, and because he had failed God, God was no longer with him. But as Christians, we have to realize that God's love always sits with us. God's love is everlasting. God's love is eternal. So that's that. This is so weird. This is so weird coming from me. I don't think anybody expects me to drop something like this because I don't. But yeah, now it leads me to the next thing I want to say. This is like an opinion I have, right? This is an opinion. This is an opinion I have, and it's that. Actually, scratch that. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to make like a separate video for that. or maybe I would actually might as well just say all of my piece in this one video. And I feel like it takes. I feel like a lot of like pastors that we have in Nigeria aren't like good preachers or teachers in the sense of it. I feel like if you're a teacher or a preacher and all you're preaching is just surrounded by stories, your personal experiences, people's experience, people like testimonies and all that stuff, right? I don't think you're actually preaching. I don't think you're actually teaching anything to anybody. Nobody's really getting anything. We're getting stories, right? I think to be a good preacher, you actually know how to teach without your personal experience, because personal experiences can be very anecdotal. They are very they can seem they are very anecdotal. So I'm of the opinion that pastors who are always using stories to preach can actually preach. This is a very unpopular opinion that I have. So yeah, we've come to the end of my mini episode. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. So see you guys on the next time, on the next one. Hopefully it's not so soon. Hopefully I'm able to put something. I have something in the works. All right, all I needed to do was just edit it. I shot a video some time ago, but I think I've lost one part of the clip. I lost one part of the video, so I don't know if that would work. But I would still have to go through it and see. I think I'll do that after I turn off this, end this video. I'll probably check it now. I'll have to check the video and see if the parts that I have left are viable. So yeah, see you guys on the next one. It's been amazing. I miss you. I miss you all, of course. So see you on the next one. Like, share, subscribe, like I said earlier, and ciao.